Hey y'all, I am back with another episode of Hush No More with Dr. Vanessa. I love being on this show because I meet so many amazing survivors. I meet advocates. I meet people that's just doing some amazing things in our community. So I love the show, and I'm so glad that you all take the time to join us each week because it's important to have this safe space to talk about things that's going on in our community. And what I want to talk about real quickly is CTR Media Network because they're sponsoring us, y'all. So if you get a chance to check out CTR Media Network, if you want to start a podcast, they are phenomenal. Dr. Tina Ramsey is phenomenal. And I have really enjoyed being part of the CTR Media Network family. So I encourage you to pop in, see what's going on. All of their podcasts and TV shows are really phenomenal and they're all family based. So I encourage you to join. All right. So today we're going to get in it because I am excited to talk about this topic about survivors and believing survivors. So I'm going to bring on my amazing guest. It is Roweena. Hello, beautiful. How are you today?
Hi.
I think we got a delay. And we tested it, and it still act funny. But thank you for joining us. I think the topic we believe survivors is so important, and it's also the name of your organization. So that's why I really wanted you to come on today. And can you tell the audience a little bit about you? Who is Rowena?
Sure. So my name is Roweena. I am a 20-year Army veteran. I retired from the Army Reserve in 2020. I know I don't look it, but I did. I served on two deployments, one to Iraq and one to Kuwait. And I've been an HR professional ever since. I've always kind of been an advocate. I'm a single mom to two girls, one who is 20 and another who is 12. Been serving as an HR professional in both the civilian world and the military world for my entire career. And I love it. And like you mentioned, I am the founder of a nonprofit for believing survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence and just making sure that they know that we believe them.
I love it. The couture creator, she said, thank you for your service. So thank you for your service, ma'am, and for serving our country. And Army is always the way. So one team, one fight. Who I had to throw that plug in. So why was it so important? What defining moment said I need to do something because people do not believe survivors? What made you do that?
I I think for me the turning point really came, which probably came with a lot of military survivors in the military community, was Vanessa Guillen, in that case. And I think that for me, seeing military members, seeing women, seeing men have to go through hoops and all these other things just to prove their case and to have people, leaders, believe them. I think that's where it kind of started for me. I remember I actually had a male who reached out when the Vanessa Guillen case happened, and he's in the military. He served in the military, and he mentioned to me, Rowena, there's so much I want to share. There's so much I want to say, but because I'm a male, I'm not able to say it because I know I won't be taken seriously. And I've had females in the military who have come to me as well, say, I'm a higher rank, or no one will believe me because I'm a PFC and this person is a senior leader. So I think that's kind of what triggered me to start the nonprofit, was hearing the different stories of military women and men, and veteran women and men as well, that have struggled to come forward, struggled to seek help because they're just scared of not being believed. And on top of the challenges that we already face with the military, with seeking help, that's just another roadblock that we have. So I just started it because I wanted to let people know and let survivors know that if no one else believes them, that we believe them.
You believe them. The reason why, to me, you are so impactful is because you're not a survivor of military sexual trauma, right?
And I'm not.
And I think
That's
sometimes people feel like they have to be a survivor in order to help, but you're an ally. And do people ever, do you ever talk about that? Like tell people that you're not a survivor, but you're standing with them as an ally?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell them that all the time. Whenever we start a conversation, I always start with, I am not a survivor of sexual assault. I can't imagine that pain. I can't imagine that trauma that you're going through. But I just want to let you know that, whatever you need, whatever kind of resources you need or help you need, I'm here to support. Whenever they do share, I do let them know that it is a safe space when they do share. I also let them know that I have very many close friends who I work with and who I partner with who are actually survivors of sexual assault, who don't mind telling their story, who are open now about sharing their story. One of them is a very good friend of mine named Olivia, and she is a senior enlisted person in the Air Force, and she shares her story all the time about being a survivor of sexual assault. And I think that having a survivor reach out to her and seeing the things that she's accomplished, even as a survivor and even struggling as a survivor, it kind of has them relate to her. So I definitely have people that I have them reach out to. But I think for me, the main thing is just letting them know that even though I don't know what you're going through, I still will always stand with you and believe you, no matter what.
Yeah, I honor you for that because sometimes people feel like they can't, that they don't know what is an experience, they don't know what to say or what to do. And you are an example of that. The Couture creator said the stats for male sexual assault are astounding. They really are. And I'm glad, Rowena, that you said that men come forward to you as well and they struggle with being believed. Definitely feel like they not always believe, and women. So it's not just the men. And I see it all the
Right.
time. I am a survivor of military sexual trauma, which most of my community know. And I didn't tell because I definitely felt like I wouldn't be believed, because it was the post commander's driver. And he was a staff
Mm,
sergeant. I was a private. And he was the number one soldier on post. Like everybody loved him. They weren't gonna believe me. And I was in his room. So I didn't tell, but I really wish that I would have had an organization like yours to say, hey,
yeah.
come forward. I believe you. Even if you don't report, I believe you. And so that's really big for me. And that's why I talk about it all the time because we don't come forward. For
Yep.
you, talking to so many victims, what have you noticed as a trend why people say they don't come forward?
There's actually two trends that I notice when people don't come forward. The first one is, especially in the military culture, especially when I was going through, and for several of my counterparts who are going through at the same time, the military teaches you that you can't report anything, that you can't share anything, that you have to keep everything to yourself because if you report, it will make you look weak, it will ruin your career, it will have you lose your security clearance if you're in some of those positions that require security clearance. So in your mind, you're already ingrained to believe that I don't want to seek help. I don't want to appear a victim. I don't want to appear weak. So I'm not going to share at all. So that's one. I think it's just a culture that's ingrained in us to make us believe that we shouldn't seek help because it could be a career stopper or a showstopper. I think number two, a lot of people don't report or don't share, or some of the trends that I'm seeing is just kind of what we're talking about today, is that no one believes them. You can have that PFC that I've talked to that will say that she was sexually assaulted by a lieutenant colonel or a colonel. So who you're going to believe? Are you going to believe a lieutenant colonel or colonel that has these high accolades, or are you going to believe that PFC just entered the military 2 weeks ago? So I think for me, it's intimidation. It's fear of reprisal when a lot of these survivors try to go speak up. So I think it's just twofold. I think it's the fear of reprisal, and I think it's the fear of survivors not being believed. But I also think it's just the military culture that has you believe that it's not okay to seek help because it will ruin your career and you will appear as being weak. So I can speak and say for myself, and for other women that I've talked to, especially as a woman of color, I keep a lot of things, or they mention they keep a lot of things to themselves because we're dealt with a double-edged sword and we have to appear strong against our counterparts. So we often just keep everything to ourselves and struggle internally. But that's some of the trends that I've seen so far.
Thank you for sharing. I often wonder if, because the culture is definitely a culture. I know the military has tried to change the culture, right, by instituting programs for victim advocates, sexual assault response coordinators. Like they really tried, but the culture is there, right? And and we know it's there, even though they say that it's
Okay.
not. But I wonder if it's more individuals. I think the military really want to try to change the culture, but it's a challenge because you got people in there that are predators. I don't care what you
Mm-hmm.
say, they are predators. You have individuals that there that they sucked it up and drove on, so they want you to do the same thing. Like they'll say, "Hey, it
Mm-hmm.
happened to me. I don't understand what you're complaining for." So there is a culture.
Mm-hmm.
They've tried to figure out about our security clearances. And for those who don't understand, you have to have a security clearance to do certain jobs to get certain
Mm-hmm.
positions, right? So that is big, even though they say that it's not true. It still happens, and we also see that senior leaders are not held accountable when
Yep.
they do not go to jail. They do not get discharged,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the things that I really
Mm-hmm.
see. Like, why would I come forward and put myself through all of this when nothing's going to happen? You're not holding individuals
Right.
accountable, and that was big. I saw that a lot. I saw because we're buddies. I'm not going to do anything to you. I'm gonna let you off. That type of culture, taking care of our own. I've
Yeah.
seen that. And when you see that this person was sexually assaulted and they reported and their name was drug in the mud and they didn't get the support they needed, that makes you not report as well because you saw what happened to the other individual. And so those are some of the things that I actually have seen and experienced in at very high levels. And I don't think people really understand that those are some of the things that people don't come forward for. The Couture creator, she said, it is
Yep.
a challenge to deal with those who use a system and take the focus off those who really need help and resources. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a system. It
Mm-hmm. It is,
is.
and I think the system it has changed a lot over the years. It's still changing, like you said, but before, often when you have a sexual assault case, the focus is used to be really on the predator. You used to always see, not support for the predator, but you used to always see the victim blaming, or you used to always see
Mhm.
the command crowding around and supporting the predator, or the predator's name is the one that's all over the military base, but you really don't see the support for the victim when they come forward outside of that victim advocate, of course, and the SARC. So I think it's really changed more over the years to focus on making sure that we support the survivor, I said victim, but support the survivor, that we support them and provide them with the resources, and taking kind of the shift off of the predator and making it be more about supporting and standing with survivors. So I think that that's definitely a shift that I've seen over the past few years too, as well.
I think it's difficult when the survivor has to prove that it happened, but
Mm-hmm.
the predator, right, the offender, doesn't have to prove that they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like automatic the survivor is on the defense. They're having to prove that it happened to them. And people do
Mm-hmm.
take sides. People do take sides, and that's a difficult place to be in, I think. And so how do we shift that? And not only in the military, that's in the civilian world as well.
This is really well too. Yeah.
People say like that person didn't do it, especially if they famous, if they high ranking, if they have money. People swear that people don't
Mm-hmm.
crimes. And I know people gonna get mad at me, but you can't tell me that Michael Jackson wasn't guilty. He rich and nobody don't think he did nothing. And I don't care what y'all say with the movie out. But it is really hard for people to come forward when you have a society that does not believe victims. And
Yeah.
and I'm struggling. I get mad. I was like, how did you know? Was you there? Were you
I
there when it
struggle with
happened?
that too. I struggle with that all the time. Like I struggle with, especially in the civilian sector, like with the celebrities, I struggle a lot with that because there's so many times that we just don't want to believe that this person could actually do that. And then we take the focus off the person who's actually going through it and put more of the focus on the celebrity because there's no way that someone like Bill Cosby, who was a Huxtables, could have done anything that he did. There's no way that P. Diddy, because he was so popular, could have done anything that he did. And I think that um, I guess that's another reason why I do feel it's important to believe survivors, because I want to put more of them and support more of them rather than focusing on the status of the perpetrator, or not believing that the perpetrator could actually do it, or standing with the perpetrator because there's no way that someone who makes all this money, or there's no way that someone who's high ranking could possibly do anything like this. So I think that's kind of been my focus too, as well as making sure it's more on providing support for the survivor than the focus on what this perpetrator has or doesn't have. So that's kind of what my thought process has been too as well.
When you said Bill Cosby, my family, I was at my grandma's house, and it was a whole discussion about that Bill Cosby was innocent, right? They got mad. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what I didn't like was the way they did Bill Cosby by releasing the deposition when they told him that it wasn't. But he admitted to drugging and raping them women. So you got
Mm-hmm. He did.
by him, and people still did not believe them. They
Yep.
blamed the victim. Oh, she wanted it. They know how Bill Cosby was, and they just wanted to be around a superstar. They set him up. And I'm like, the man admitted that this was things that he did.
Yep.
But even with
Yep.
evidence, sometimes in our society, they still don't believe survivors. And I'm like, what? We got
Mm-hmm.
cases where they paid the victim off because they were guilty, and
Yep.
so they paid them off, right? And they still will not believe. And so I want to have a show where we talk about switching that up, where we're
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
systems and loving on them, and giving them that support, right? When you had mentioned P Diddy, well, how did you feel when that case came out?
Mm. um. So P Diddy was actually one that from the beginning I kind of had suspicions and thoughts on the things that he was doing, and then even going back to Bill Cosby. Sometimes we rely on the credibility of the people who actually speak out and saying, well, this person, she's done drugs, she's done alcohol, she's not credible at all. So I think some of the survivors that came out against Bill Cosby, um, people in society said they weren't credible because look at their history. Look at the history of Janice Dickerson, who was a famous model. She's a crazy woman. I think for a lot of survivors, including society, including my parents, they didn't believe Bill Cosby until the African American model Beverly Johnson came out and said that she did it. So I think with that, with P Diddy, with P Diddy, like I really just felt, I really just felt like sorrow and sadness for Cassie. And I think that even before the video was shown, everyone said that everyone ruined her name, I guess, and everyone tarnished her name, and everyone made it seem like she was really like only after money, and she was only after what he could provide to her. So there's no way that he could have done anything like that. And it just breaks my heart that that's the mentality, that society has towards like a lot of survivors. It doesn't take, you don't believe them until you actually have to see proof. And that's unfortunate. And that's the society that I actually see sometimes, is that no one really believed Cassie until they saw the video of P. Diddy, and what he did to her. But she's spoken out numerous times, but no action was taken until the video was shown. So I think that's the struggle that a lot of survivors have. Like, I was drunk, in this man's room or this woman's room. There's no way anybody's going to believe me because I was drunk, or even for tomorrow because my jeans were too tight. There's no way that my perpetrator could have taken off my jeans, so I'm not going to speak out because it was my fault. And I think a lot of survivors believe that it's their fault, and there's no way no one else will believe them. So I think that's how I felt with P. Diddy, was that she had to go through hoops just to have people believe her, and it didn't work until the video came out. So
Yeah. What
yeah,
I
that's my
realized,
thoughts on P. Diddy.
there's a lot of things when it goes, a lot of times, power and control. The more money you have, the more power that you
Mhm.
have over somebody. They also go after victims that people wouldn't believe. So
Yeah.
if they're a prostitute, if they're a drug addict, if
Yeah.
they're a dancer, or if they've had a shaky history, those are the ones too that they
Yeah.
target because they know people wouldn't believe them, and people fall
Yeah.
for it. Oh, they were on drugs. There was no way that
Hmm.
this person raped them, and so that is a pattern that people use to go after individuals like that, and it works. It absolutely
Yeah.
works, and it
It
just is
does.
crazy to me that it works that well. Um, and what I do like though, when people come forward, other victims will come forward when you have the courage to come forward. Others do.
Right.
And others came forward about P. Diddy, and people still didn't believe it. Even men
Still
came
didn't
forward.
believe him. Yeah.
He assaulted a lot of men. And so people still do
Hmm.
not believe that he did it. R. Kelly is another one. And
Mm.
so I pay attention how people don't listen to multiple victims, not just one. When you start getting multiple people coming forward and
Multiple.
they still don't believe, it's like, what is wrong with people?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I feel.
I know. That's how I feel. I know. I know. It's sad. It really gets sad when you it really gets sad when you see that kind of things and those kind of things.
Even our president, and I don't care, I hush no more, so censor me if you want to. But even he had allegations of sexual assault. Nobody cared. They still voted him in. The sexual harassment, the way he
Yeah.
talked to women. Yeah, we know he was in them Epstein files because he was on the island right along with everybody else. But they just don't. I don't know if it's that they don't care, they don't believe, or they don't want to believe. They want to think the best of people sometimes. That's not the good people. And it just confuses me when individuals come forward and talk about people and how horrible they are, and we don't do anything about it in our society.
Yeah.
So this is strange to me. But and I talk about them all. I don't care who it is. If I do, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter.
I
I'm
do
gonna keep.
too. I have my thoughts on the one on that with the president, but sometimes, unfortunately, with the climate, and especially
Yeah.
with the
And
federal
you can't
government,
say anything
and
because you're still with the federal government. I'm not.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You can't.
I'm like, I want.
And that's exactly why I'm not a SARC. I'm not a victim advocate. I'm not a program
Yeah.
manager. That I'm not in the sexual assault program, because I want to be able to say what I say, period. And I want to be able to support. And I tell
Say,
people,
yep.
I
Hmm.
love the military. I love the fact that I served my country. It's the best thing that I ever did. But I will call out things that's not right.
Yeah.
And I don't ever regret going in the
Right.
military. You know, what do you think about individuals who lie about being sexually assaulted?
Me and my
Statistically,
best
we're
friend had
at
this talk.
2 to 8%. And I always bring this up because somebody out there gonna hear this and say, "What about the people that lie?" Right? So let's talk about it. About 2 to 8% are false. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I I think that it's unfortunate that those people who do that, report false claims. I think it's a detriment to those who actually want to come forward and who actually want to speak out and actually need the help and the resources. But I can say that low percent, 2 to 8%, is small compared to the actual survivors who do decide to speak help, and definitely small compared to those who don't decide to speak out and speak help. So for anyone that says to me, well, they've made false claims, and they've tarnished these people's names, I'll say, yes, I understand that. And yes, that's unfortunate, because it makes it unfortunate for people who actually need the help and need the assistance and want to report, but now can't, because everybody's going to think that this is just a false claim or just a lie. So that 2 to 8% compared to the large percent of those who are actually really assaulted and those who are assaulted and don't report is small to me compared to, those that actually need the help and need the resources. So that's kind of what I say to people when they tell me that. I know it's out there, but to me that shouldn't be the focus on supporting survivors of sexual assault. It just shouldn't, because then you take away the focus of those who actually have claims that are true and put it back on the 2 to 8% of those that are false. So
They use them. So I will tell
that's
you
what I say
how
to
I
them.
feel about it. I I think if you come forward and lie about being sexually assaulted, that you should be punished. I think that you gave
Mm-hmm.
a false testimony, a false statement, and I think that you messed it up for everybody else. And
Yeah.
I do not like it. I do not approve of it, and I'll call you out on it because you make it
Yeah,
hard for others. And I,
you do.
when I'm training, that's always the question. Well, what about the ones who falsely reported? So I'll address it because
Yeah.
you have to address the elephant in the room, and I'll tell them a story. About an investigation where it was the first sergeant. We was in Germany, and she was the first sergeant. She was cheating on her husband with another soldier, and she got pregnant. So she lied and said that she was sexually
Mm,
assaulted. Once they did the investigation, they realized that she was lying. They put her out of the military, and
good.
I was glad they put her out of the military.
Good.
But there are cases like that makes it
Yes,
bad
you
for
know.
everybody else. So I always use that example. So I don't say, well, no, it's never happened, because it has.
It happens.
But that's why we have an investigation. You come forward, you report, investigation, an investigation should start. And I always say that leave it up to the investigation. Sometimes it's unfounded and they can't find enough evidence to prove it. But you have to let the system work. And do the system always work? No.
No.
Because a lot of times
Mm-mm.
the investigation come back unfounded, and it
Yeah.
did happen. And it did
Yeah.
happen. But I always tell people 2 to 8% is not that many people,
No.
and you really want to look at it from a perspective of fairness and not just assume that somebody's lying. That's the first thing
Yeah.
people want to believe, that that's somebody lying. And I just don't understand that. And if I look, I always say, if I sexually assaulted somebody, you think I'm gonna come to work and say, yeah, I did it? You think I'm gonna tell
No.
the police I did it?
Of course
Yeah,
not.
they say
Of course
I'm
not.
innocent.
Oh, never mind. It just boggles my mind to some of the things that
Yeah.
happen. So,
Yeah. And so it frustrates me. I like boggle my mind. I don't really use that word, but I do like that word because it do make
oh,
sense of how it's like in our brains, like how is this actually happening? So
boggles. Yeah.
yeah. For you, what is something that you always say when a person comes to you and share their story and they tell you? What is something you always say? What is like your staple?
My staple is it's a safe space. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a SARC. I'm not a victim advocate. I'm not in your chain of command. I'm not your employer. I'm not your supervisor. I'm, maybe your friend. I may be your sorority sister. I may be nothing to you at all. But just know, whatever you tell me, it stays with me. If you want to get support and you want to get help, I can definitely point you in the right direction and show you who you need to talk to and tell you who you need to talk to. And those people that I share with you are people that I trust and people that I know and people that I know will support and will continue to keep it safe until you're ready to share. So for me, that's my staple is everyone just wants to have, sometimes a safe space. Sometimes they just want to vent. Sometimes they just want to share. Sometimes they just want to let it all out, and they might not be ready to report, but I let them know when they are. You can let me know and I can help you and I can walk you through the process and I can, share people who have been through the same thing that you have been, because I haven't been, but I know people and I just because I haven't been through it doesn't mean I won't support you. So safe space is my number one go-to that I share whenever anyone comes to talk to me about anything like that.
Yeah. I think it's important so for people to hear that, for those who haven't come forward, like some of the things that we say. And so for me, I always say, I honor you in this moment. I honor you for trusting me with
Mm,
something so
mhm,
simple. You chose me
mhm.
out of everybody in this world to say this to. And so I honor you, and I know it's not easy. And so and then wherever the conversation goes from there, then it goes. But I think it gives them like support and confidence that, whoa, I made the right decision to come talk to Dr. Vanessa, because I know it's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy to come forward. And so I always want them to feel love. I was like, I just want you to feel safe and loved when you're coming to share with me. And that's what safe space is.
Yeah.
And that's big. Yeah. And we
Yeah.
just love. Okay. All right. Have you ever talked to people about how do you respond? Like, how should people respond? Do you have an opinion on that? When somebody come and tell them that they've been sexually assaulted?
Um, I always tell people don't let your emotions show. I guess that's kind of the best thing. Or don't let your emotions or your biases play a part in what that survivor is coming to you for. So they might share gruesome details of what happened, or they might share details that sometimes you may find hard to believe. They might share details that they've never shared with anyone, but don't rush to judgment, don't rush to bias, because really at that moment in time, they consider you, like I said, a safe space, and they consider you a listening ear. So just listen, and that's it. Don't have reactions, don't say things, well, I'm going to go fight this person, or we're going to get you the help that you need, or I'm going to tell this person here so they can help you sort it. Let them guide you through it. Listen. So I always tell people you don't always have to have feelings to be a good listener and to be a good support system.
You don't. Yeah, I like that. I always say people don't want to hear your opinion. Like when people say, "Well, if that was me, I'll do this and I wouldn't do this and this." It's all about love and kindness. So how I always suggest that you respond is, how can I help you? What do you need from me? And they may say just to listen. They may say to go to the police. They may say to help
Mm-hmm.
me find counseling, find some
Yeah.
resources. And so I think it's important that we ask people, how can I help you? What do you need from me? Right. And sometimes it's just to sit with them, and that's okay. You don't always have to
Yeah.
ask, and just to love them
Mm-hmm.
and be a support. So
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you want to share with the audience before we get out of here, like your last perspective and maybe something about We Believe You, supporting our survivors?
Yeah. So my last perspective is one, Vanessa. I always like to thank you for providing these spaces for survivors. I like to thank you for honoring. I love that word that you use, for honoring survivors and supporting survivors. And just from final words, from me, it's just continuing to believe survivors. And sometimes that might not be easy. Sometimes that means that you have to take the road less traveled. You have to take the road less traveled. You have to take a stance against someone else. You have to take a stance against everyone else. But you have to believe that these survivors are believed and that they have a space where they can come to. For the nonprofit, I do need volunteers. I am you have the email listed below. So if you are interested in volunteering, just please feel free to reach out. I'm in the Maryland DMV area, so we can use all the support we can get.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you for what you do for survivors. It means a lot because survivors are not always heard. And so thank you so very much. And y'all, she do need volunteers, she do need support. So We Believe You, supporting our
Yeah.
survivors, is a great organization. And so reach out to her if you would like to support. Right. I want to transition because tomorrow is Denim Day. And for those who do not know, Denim Day is the day that we wear jeans in honor of survivors to support them. There was a court case in Italy where the offender got off because the judge said that there was no way that this lady was sexually assaulted because her jeans were too tight. and it was unfortunate. So the parliament came, and all the women in the parliament came, and they wore jeans to demonstrate against the council. And it's a really big day for us, and it's something special. So tomorrow we're asking you to wear jeans and to take a picture. You could tag Hush No More. You could tag us. You could do a hashtag, a hashtag Hush No More. But show up for survivors tomorrow. If you are a survivor, show up for yourself or show up for a family member or a friend. When we see those showing up for us, we're more likely to look at you as an ally and to be able to come to you for support. So it means so much. So tomorrow is denim day, and I'm gonna have my cute jeans on. So wear your jeans in honor of survivors. I always say we're standing with survivors, and would love to see. You could tag my personal page too, Vanessa Dunn Guyton, and just show out tomorrow in your jeans and be cute. And this is for men and women because survivors are female and men. Okay, so I really do appreciate you all, and I look forward to hearing from you. Please share the podcast. Support us because we need the support. We need survivors to know that we are here to love on them, especially during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so this is one of my busiest months of the year because it's big. It's big that we advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves or stand beside those that are advocating for themselves. And believe survivors. Please believe survivors. It's not for us to judge. That's why you have a jury. That's why they go and do an investigation. It's not for us to make the decision about who is telling the truth or not. It's about us to just stand and love, and we lead with love and kindness, and that is how we change the world. Thank you, Couture Creator. She said, thanks a million for all you do. And we appreciate you for being on tonight and just supporting us and supporting survivors. So, y'all know we are at hushnomore.org. If you need support, you can follow us on social media. And I would love for you to be a guest. If you are a survivor of military sexual trauma, we are starting to get the names of survivors who would like to be in our documentary or in our book. So you can go to bit.ly HNMMST, so Hush No More MST, and fill out an application. And we would love to have you on our documentary or on our in our book because the story should be told. Thank you so much, Roweena, for supporting us tonight and joining us. It means a lot to me that you come on. And y'all be safe. Peace and blessings to everyone. And know that you have a right to tell it and you have a right to heal.